Yo, what's going on, guys? Crispy Flakes here. So I just got done watching Russell Westbrook's debut for the Washington Wizards. Now, keep in mind it was a very small sample size because it was his preseason debut and not his official NBA regular season debut. So I expect we see a lot more Russell Westbrook when the actual season does begin. But in this final preseason game against the Detroit Pistons, Russell Westbrook, I think the best way to put it was pretty like what you would expect out of Russell at this point in his NBA career. So before we get into that, I need to ask you guys to please drop a like on this video. And of course, if you are new to the channel, man, please hit that subscribe button. I'm trying to shift into more basketball discussion stuff because as a lot of us know, NBA 2K21, for the most part, man, the game's kind of fallen off. So, I'm trying to try some different things out here. So having your support definitely means a lot when it comes to that, man. Okay, so obviously Russell Westbrook was traded for John Wall this NBA offseason. And, at this point in his career, we all pretty much know who Russell is. Now, I will say, high energy guy, which in certain circumstances, the rest of the team is going to feed off that. I feel like when he was on the Houston Rockets, that high energiness that he brings kind of got shadowed away just because, I feel like with James Harden, you can literally, shock him with a trillion bolts of electricity. Or volts, or bolts, really either one. I don't know the scientific term. Either way, man, you can shock James Harden and he just would not get that energetic boost to him because he's just very lackadaisically good, right? But with Russell Westbrook, he's always been a high energy guy, so given the right circumstance, with a young team or maybe players that are on a team that are not really used to winning, that is definitely going to be contagious, and that's kind of what we saw in the early first quarter of Russell on the Wizards in this last preseason game. So before we get too much into what Russell was exactly doing, I want to talk about some of the things that he was actually affecting on the basketball court and some of the players that look like are going to be hugely beneficial of playing with Russell. And the first guy I actually want to talk about is Thomas Bryant. So literally within the first few plays, the first thing we saw was Russell attack the basket, which I think is what most people want to see Russell do. He attacked the basket, kicked it out to Thomas Bryant for a wide open three-point shot, probably the widest he's been open for three his entire NBA career, and he missed it, but it was a beautiful shot. It was one of those things where it's if Thomas Bryant, who is already a pretty gifted shooting big man, if he gets 2, 3, or 4 of those attempts a game, that's already going to up his value tremendously. About 2 or 3 plays later, we saw, once again, Russell cut to the basket. Thomas Bryant was kind of dishing off to the side, and he threw a wide open alley-oop. Now, once again, Thomas Bryant did miss it, but it's his first time playing with Russell, so it's to be expected. But it was a beautiful look, man. Literally, what we see with Thomas Bryant and Russell early on is some very good signs. Because if you really think about it, Westbrook has never really ever played with a highly gifted offensive center before. Back when he was playing on the Houston Rockets, they started off with Clint Capella, who is just your traditional DeAndre Jordan type of inside player. And then eventually they traded him away and then went to the small ball with PJ Tucker at the center spot. So yeah, not really opportunities there. And then going back to his OKC Thunder days, he played with Steven Adams, who was a good pick and roll center and get into the basket and stuff. But outside of that, it doesn't really give you much of an offensive game. If you think about to this day, the most gifted big guy that Russell has played with would probably be early on OKC Serge Ibaka. And even Serge Ibaka back then would knock down the elbow shots and stuff like that. But he wasn't really shooting as many threes as he does now. He was definitely more of an inside player because that's kind of where the NBA was at that time. It was kind of tail end shifting over to that let's have big guys space the floor. So Thomas Bryant, in theory, man, could be the best offensive center that Russell will play with. And I think that's kind of something to be said about that, man. Outside of Thomas Bryant, I think the next guy you got to look at, obviously, is the guy that probably should have been an all-star last year was Bradley Beal. And what we saw right away is they were not double-teaming Bradley Beal whatsoever. There was a matchup where Bradley was in a one-on-one situation with Killian Hayes, who, of course, is a 18-year-old, 19-year-old rookie for the Detroit Pistons, and he took him to the basket, and, yeah, count that baby in a foul, man. He got the and one. So you got to think about it. If defenses are not willing to help a rookie in an isolation situation against Bradley Beal, chances are we are not going to see a ton of opportunities where teams are going to double team Bradley, right, man? If there's going to be a Victor Oladipo playing defense, you're going to be hey, Oladipo, let's see what he can do against them, and we'll stick with that. Just because of the spacing of this team, especially having Davis Bertans, obviously who was a top 3-point shooting big guy last season. Thomas Bryant spacing the floor. Denny Avdija, who is looking like one of the best shooters in the NBA draft. Those opportunities to double team Bradley Beal simply are not going to be there. Now, with that being said, playing with Russell, how exactly is that going to affect Bradley? Well, what I kind of do expect this NBA season is maybe not as much like in the scoring category for Bradley Beal, who did average about 31 points per game last season. But what I'm expecting is a even more efficient season for him. I'm expecting a few less shots, maybe a few less points, but those less shots are going to go at a higher rate. Last year, he was at about 46% field goal percentage off 23 attempts per game. So if he can go up to like 49% off of, I don't know, man, like 17 attempts per game, because obviously Russell's going to be shooting a lot more and stuff like that as opposed to like an Ish Smith. I still think that's a big-time W if Russell can play efficient himself. So, yeah, for the most part, man, in this very early sample size, I mean, the high energy was there. It was a beautiful thing to watch. Now, talking about Russell Westbrook himself, well, I mean, we saw some decent plays from him. When we watch Russell, I think we all like to see him use his athleticism. We like to watch him get to the basket, slash to the basket, because that's going to leave shooters wide open. It's going to collapse the defense. It's going to draw fouls and things like that. So we saw a little bit of that. It was actually kind of interesting to watch because as Russell ages up, we all know that athleticism over time is going to start to like dwindle a little bit. I think we're not going to see so much of like Russell attacking the basket from the three-point line, like exploding from there. We're going to see more where you just maybe get Russell in a one-on-one situation, along the elbow or the baseline or something, and that's where you're going to see the explosive, just like a really quick burst to the basket. And we saw that a little bit. There was one play in particular where he was posting up, I believe it was Killian Hayes once again, who was being abused by essentially every single guard in this game. But yeah, he was being posted up, and yeah, it was a really nice move. I mean, he kind of dipped to the left and just used the explosiveness to put up a nice little hook shot, and it was a nice thing to watch. So we got that from Russell. We got some nice, attacks on the basket and stuff. Outside of that, though, there was also the cringe things that Russell kind of does where he just pulls up for three, and you're like, okay, man, there's literally 22.9 seconds left on the shot clock. That shot is probably not really needed. It will always be there for you, Russell. We all know you're not afraid to, to pull the guns out there and shoot a three-pointer. So we saw that a little bit, which was not great. I mean, like I said, you don't really want Russell Westbrook taking too many threes. He was 0 for 3 in this first game. So, but we all know at this point in his career, he's going to shoot them because he likes shooting those shots. And he's a very streaky shooter where, sure, he might go 0 for 3, but all of a sudden he might have a game where he goes like 5 for 6 and he's just good to go for that game, right, man? Unfortunately, it's going to be much more of the 0 for 3 and things along those lines. But he was grabbing rebounds, making plays for others, and like I said earlier, man, he was bringing an energy to the game that simply a Ish Smith or Isaiah Thomas, who I totally forgot even played for this team last year. We're going to say mainly Ish Smith, though, because he was the latter point guard to end last year's NBA season. He just brought a certain energy to the team that you could see everybody was excited to play with him. Outside of that, though, I mean, the second half kind of rolled around. At that point, Russell was done for the night, and you kind of saw like a lot of the same where, it was give Bradley Beal the basketball, see what he can do with it, and Thomas Bryant was shooting some threes and stuff like that, and that was about it, man. But regardless, I will say this Wizards team has the potential to be very, very intriguing. They have a pretty damn decent starting five, once again, as opposed to last season, man, or I guess as equalized to last season. The big issue or the big Achilles heel is going to be the defense. If this team can go out there, play a lick of defense, man, like literally just don't be the worst defensive team in the NBA, then you should be good to go. Now, I will say, I don't know if I'm really expecting that because Russell Westbrook's a fine defender. He does okay. Bradley Beal, I mean, is a defender on the team. Like, I don't really blame defense on him. It's really going to be up to the front court. I mean, Davis Bertans, like, he has to be more than the three-point shooter. I mean, this guy just got, what was it, an $80 million contract to basically be a catch-and-shoot three-pointer shooter out there, man. So if he can still do that, which is great, he's a great shooter. 1 for 7 in this game, but hey, I mean, it's his first game back. I believe he was have some injuries issue, but beyond that, if he can just play some defense, I mean, he's 6'10", so if he can block some shots and stay in front of his defender and not just get smoked on defense, that's just going to be addition to what he's already being paid to do. Thomas Bryant, I've been saying this for a while now. I feel like he has potential to be a great offensive center off of Russell Westbrook, but beyond that, it makes you a little nervous what he's going to bring defensively. Anything he does offensively is going to be negated by giving up points to other teams out there. Man, he's statistically the worst defensive center in the NBA, at least from a starting standpoint. So I feel like the offense has allowed him to shine Denny Avila out there. He's still looking like a very polished rookie. I love their bench unit. You know, Troy Brown Jr. is great. Robin Lopez looks like he's going to bring a nice veteran leadership, a little bit of some hustle at that center position. Obviously, Rui Hachimura, who currently has pink eye, I guess is what he has, didn't play, but he'll probably be in the starting lineup, you would think, regardless. So that's going to leave probably, you know, either Rui or Davis Bertans off the bench to bring some firepower. So, I mean, there's a lot of offensive game to be had with this team, guys. It's going to come down to the defense, though. Russell Westbrook looks like Russell Westbrook, I think, is the best way we can put it, though, man. Like, he didn't do anything that you were just looking and be like, oh my God, like Russell Westbrook's capable of that. It's like, no, that's stuff Russell's been doing, that he's been doing for years now. And like I said, in the right circumstance, that's great for a basketball team, especially the Washington Wizards, who were one of the worst teams in the NBA last season. Maybe Russell Westbrook's presence wouldn't be as felt on a great basketball team because they were already great before. But we all know when you go from Ish Smith or Isaiah Thomas to Russell Westbrook, by default, even if the rest of the team stays the same, you are going to be better because of it. You're going to be more of a high-energy team because of it, and that's kind of what we saw from this game right here. So I'm looking forward to see how this Bradley Beal-Russell Westbrook team and duo kind of goes in the future. I'm excited to see what this team can do offensively. I feel like that's going to be what makes them, you know, maybe an 8 seed in the Eastern Conference, but they got to get the defense together, man. That's just how the NBA is. I mean, unless you can score 200 points per game, which I've yet to see that, you got to play some defense out there. So I don't really know, man. It was fun to watch, though, despite my Detroit Pistons. Well, okay, right now there's currently 5 minutes left in the game. The Wizards are up 95-89. Maybe my Pistons come back. Who really knows? But yeah, guys, that's all we got for today's video. I want to talk a little bit about this, you know, preseason debut, the first game of Russell Westbrook wearing that number 4, his former high school number on the Washington Wizards. Hope you guys all enjoyed. Be sure to drop that like, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and peace out, my friends.